Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to share with you my labor and delivery story of my son Indiana and how he came to this world. So I 100% already recorded this, but my dogs were like right here the whole time licking their butts. So I have to retell my story, which is fine. But I just wanted to let y'all know that I am recording this not just for YouTube, but because I want to look back and remember the story of how Indy came and how I felt and all of those emotions. I just want to remember them. Since he's only 9 months, it's still a little bit fresh. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like. If you want to see more, subscribe. I am going to be sharing more videos about my family, my life, my home, anything that you want to know, I'm happy to share. Indiana was born at 36 weeks and 3 days. He was born almost a month early. My due date was January 2nd and he came December 8th. So we are forever grateful that we got to meet him a month early. Forever not grateful that I didn't have a hospital bag, was not registered for the hospital, and he surprised us. But that's okay, best surprise ever. So at 8:30 in the morning on December 7th, I woke up because I heard a pop. And I was still kind of like in that sleep, so I didn't know if it was in my dream or if it was a real noise, but I was like, that was kind of weird. Then I felt like a little trickle when I rolled a little bit. And I was like, did I pee myself? I wasn't sure what happened. I stood up, and once I stood up, it all gushed out of me. So I called Brandon, and I was like, I think my water broke. And he said, no, I don't think it happens like that. That's only in the movies. It's rare for your water to break. And I was like, okay. He said, call the doctor, tell him what happened, and we'll see what happens. So I said, okay. I called the doctor. They told me go to labor and delivery. You may have just lost some amniotic fluid. So I was like, okay, I'm not worried. But in the back of my head, I was like, this was a lot. So I'm pretty sure. Brandon was actually working out of town that day. He had left about 4 or 5 in the morning. So he was on his way back now at this point, since that did happen. And I just didn't want to be at the hospital without him no matter what. So he was already on his way back. So I called my sister and I was like, Sam, you got to take me to the hospital. I think I'm in labor. She immediately got to the house and was not dressed, and she said, let's go, get in the car, hurry up. And I was like, okay. I was freaking out, she was freaking out. We're on our way, and every single time Indy would move, like kick, move, more would gush out of me. And it was so disgusting. My pants, my leggings were soaking wet, and I was just like, please get me out of this car. And we had just bought our Jeep, so we were like, the seats are all dirty. I told Brandon that. I was like, oh my God, every time he's moving. And he was like, don't tell me that. I'm gonna go 95 on the highway. And I was like, don't worry, I'm not in pain, just get here. So we get to the hospital and my sister gets out of the car and she's like, we need a wheelchair, we need a wheelchair. No one was around. She was just saying it. And I was like, Sam, I'm fine, I don't need a wheelchair. But in her head, she thought I needed a wheelchair because my pants were soaking wet. But I was like, it's fine. I waddled my way to the labor and delivery, told them, hey, I think my water broke. She looked at me and she's like, yeah, it probably did. So they weighed me, got checked in, whatever. And my sister actually had to go register me because I wasn't registered. I went and changed. I went into that little room. I guess it was the triage. Put the Doppler on me. They tested to see if my water broke. It came back negative, but she was like, but your water did break. You're not leaving. You're having a baby. So my mom got there probably about 30 minutes after we did. She stayed with me. I think my sister went home. Brandon got to the hospital around 11 or 10 maybe, I don't remember. And basically we just told him, okay, go home and get all of our stuff. Luckily, because we were planning on packing that weekend, I already had a list. So he just had to grab everything, put it in a bag and come back. So it didn't take him long. So around 3 o'clock, they moved me from that triage room to the actual room where I was gonna deliver Indy. My whole family was there. If you can see with this picture, I had an audience. I was forever grateful. Initially, I had said, no one's gonna be in the room. My mom was like, I wanna be in the room. And I told her, no, this is private for me and Brandon. Forget it. It all went out the door, and I was forever grateful that they were all there to support us. It was so nice to know that everybody cared that Indy was gonna be there. So the time that they moved me to the room, that's when my family was there. And I don't remember if they were gonna give me the Pitocin or the epidural because I wasn't dilating anymore. I was only 1 centimeter dilated at that point. I think they were gonna do the Pitocin. So they gave me the epidural and I could feel everything. And the anesthesiologist told me, well, some people's bodies just take it differently. So that I was like, okay, my body's just not gonna take it right. I felt a little numb on my left side, but my right side, I could feel everything. At that point, I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, okay, I guess this is how it is. That's when they started the Pitocin. And if you don't know what Pitocin is, it is a medicine that is given to you to basically speed up the delivery process. That hurts. Pitocin is not a fun thing when you don't have the epidural, and I didn't know any better, so I just took it and I didn't know. They upped my epidural dosage so high they couldn't go any higher, and I could still feel everything. It was ridiculous. And the way Pitocin works, it gets stronger as you start dilating so they can go faster. I guess it makes your contractions harder. I'm not even sure, but all I know is that I felt everything all night long. It was miserable. Throughout the night was the worst pain of my life. I really can't remember it that much now, but I know when I was going through it, it was. I was telling Brandon, we are adopting our next child. I can't do this anymore. I kept asking the nurses, how do people do this naturally without an epidural? I can't. I was yelling for a C-section. I was over it. And my mom would hold my hand through each contraction. Brandon would hold my hand through each contraction. At one point, Brandon fell asleep, so Brandon's mom was holding my hand throughout the contraction. Brandon's mom would massage my back. My mom was counting down the contractions, and that helped me so much. Brandon said that I would pass out between each contraction, and at one point he thought I died. He said that he was like shaking me because I guess my body was so tired. The contractions really took a lot out of me. The anesthesiologist just kept saying, your body doesn't take it. I was crying all night long for a long time. So at 7 a.m., the morning shift, like they switched shifts, and the new nurse came in and she was like, girl, you gotta get yourself together. And I was like, I can't do this. Like, I just want this baby out of me. And they kept saying, it's okay, you're healthy, you're gonna have the baby. We can't do a C-section unless there's complications. So I understood and I just went with it. My mom said that the morning shift anesthesiologist was watching me and didn't understand why I was in the pain that I was. I remember Monique came up to me and she said, you should get a second epidural. And I told her, I don't want it. The first epidural hurt. I don't want the second one. It didn't even work. And she said, the worst that can happen is it doesn't work again. And it took a little bit of convincing, but I was like, fine, like, I don't want to go through this pain anymore. So when you get an epidural, you have to sit really still. I couldn't do that. There was just no way the second time because the contractions were so bad that I could not sit still during this epidural. He was like, it's okay. Hold on to your husband as tight as you can, and I'm gonna do the epidural. He was so fast with epidural. The first guy, not saying he did anything wrong because I don't know what he did, but this guy was so fast at doing my epidural. And I remember my legs were hanging over the bed and I was like, no, I still feel my feet. I'm wiggling my feet. And then like in about a minute, I couldn't feel my foot. And I was like, I can't feel my foot. And Brandon told me that the anesthesiologist's eyes just lit up and were like, really? And it went up my leg, up my other leg. And all of a sudden I couldn't feel anything. And I passed out. Brandon said that I was awake for that last contraction, and he said that I was moaning a little tiny bit in my sleep, and then I was gone. And 45 minutes later, I woke up, and all I said was, who was that? Was that Dr. Jesus? I swear to you, he was my lifesaver that day. And I thanked him so much. I remember, and he probably thought I was crazy, but I swear, I said, if this is how birth is supposed to be when you get an epidural and this is what it's supposed to feel like, I could do this again. And I remember telling Brandon, I feel like Lieutenant Dan, I can't feel my legs. So that was around 9 o'clock that I had woken up, and I was fully dilated by 10 a.m. They checked me, I was done, I was ready. But Indy was still, I guess, higher up. So they wanted me to rotate on the bed. So like every 30 minutes I would move. I couldn't move, they would move me. and they would move me one way and the next. Our family basically left and they went home to go get some rest or go take a shower because they were there. My mom, my stepdad, and my mother-in-law were there all night long. So them three, they left to go get food, whatever they needed to do. Me and Brandon were resting. He was taking a nap, I was taking a nap in between them turning. Around 1:30, that's when we started practice pushing. They're like, okay, we're gonna practice push. And I was like, all right, cool. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, so this is fine. I had called my mom and I told her, okay, mom, we're gonna start practice pushing if you wanna come. So my mom and my mother-in-law actually came in the room. Like I said, I didn't want anybody in that room with me and Brandon, but I felt like they did their job that night. They were with me all night long, holding my hand, massaging my back, counting down the contractions. They earned it. They could be there when their grandson was born. So the two doctors, it was Dr. Stevens and Dr. Schultz. Amazing. Dr. Stevens is actually Indy's pediatrician still. Brandon had one leg, Dr. Stevens was in the middle, and Dr. Schultz was on one side, and Monique was counting the contractions. So every time you have a contraction, you push 3 times for 10 seconds, then you rest between that contraction. So my contractions were about 4 to 5 minutes apart at that point, and they were like, you don't feel any pressure? And I said, no, this is a fresh epidural, I don't feel anything. But it was okay. They realized that like me pushing, Indy was moving down. At one point they were like, hey, we've been pushing for an hour. And I was like, we were? And I wasn't tired. I didn't break a sweat. I felt good. And they were like, yeah, he's probably gonna come in the next couple of pushes. And I was like, what? They told Brandon, hey, Dad, you wanna look at his head? And Brandon looked over and he was like, oh my God. And every time I would push, he would pop his head out a little tiny bit, but he was like right in they said that, I don't know what was blocking his head, but it was blocking it. Anyways, so then Monique, the one that convinced me to get the epidural, she said, hey, do you want a mirror? And I was like, nah, I don't want a mirror, you're crazy. She was like, are you sure? It'll give you motivation and you'll get him out. And I was like, okay, fine. You convinced me to get the second epidural. I guess I'll get a mirror. So she brought the mirror out. I took a look. I was like, whoa. And I remember Dr. Schultz said, don't worry, even Kim Kardashian looks like that. And I was like, no, Kim Kardashian does not look like that. But all in all, that mirror did motivate me though. Once I saw his little head, I started crying. I was like, oh my God, this is it. So they were like, all right, we're gonna get ready. He's gonna come out in the next push. And they told me not to let go. So basically I was in that push position while they were changing, while they were putting on there. So they come back and they're like, okay, we're gonna push one last time. And I pushed so hard. He came out, I saw them pull him out. It was amazing. They put him on top of me. And the moment you meet your child is the moment that your life changes. I always said that I was meant to be a wife and I was meant to be a mom, and being a mom really is the most amazing thing. And when you meet your child and you give birth, it is a beautiful life-giving birth. Women's bodies growing that child and then you meeting that child is a miracle. Birth is a miracle. We got our little golden hour where we kept Indy for an hour by ourselves, and I got skin to skin, Brandon got skin to skin, and we just kind of bonded with Indy, and I'm gonna cry thinking about it. It's so amazing. And then my family came in, Brandon's family came in, everybody was meeting him. And I know some people aren't meant to be moms, and some people are just like, Annette, this is cheesy, like, why are you crying? I'm a crier though, I cry for everything. But I loved it, and I will forever remember giving birth to my first child. I love being Indy's mom. So that's it. That's my birth story, labor and delivery story, whatever you want to call it. That's what it is. And I hope it didn't bore you. It's kind of interesting. Thanks for watching, and I hope you like this video. Give it a like and subscribe. Let me know what else you want to see on my channel, and I'll see you soon.